Welcome in, everyone. It's great to see everyone in the live chat. Welcome to another edition of Miami Hurricanes Live here at the Voice of College Football. Excuse my tardiness. We're still waiting on the Holsum one. He is headed home, and he will jump on the line as soon as he possibly can. In the meantime, leave your comments, your questions, your debate topics in the live chat, and we will get to them. We've got a big weekend already started here on a Thursday of Miami football coverage. That means for the next hour or so, we will answer your questions. We'll talk Miami football with the Holsum one. Then we're probably just going to be able to take a quick cat nap break, coffee break, whatever you want. And right back here at 7 o'clock Eastern time, Cam Underwood, State of the U, more Miami football coverage. All right, so doubleheader of Hurricanes Live here at the Voice of College Football. Please like, comment, share the videos on social media, and subscribe. I say it all the time. Please share the videos, whether that be a recorded video that's already posted or a video link. Please post the video link to your social media platform. Then we'll get a larger crowd in here. Please don't take for granted that we're going to be doing Miami Live forever. I want to, but it's going to have to make sense. So please continue to support in any way that you possibly can. That's financially, that's showing up, hitting the like button, leaving your comments and questions. That is using the Amazon link in the description section below to help us build the channel and this show in particular. That is by sharing the videos on social media. We can take your support as well at Venmo, PayPal, and Cash App. Doubleheader Miami football tonight here at Mark Rogers TV, the Voice of College Football. Also, on Saturday, we've got a watch party. Watch party and post game. We do it all here. So go to Patreon, sign up right there. Jump in on the watch party coming up Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. We've got Miami kicking off at 11, of course. We've got a number of other teams in play, and we're inviting everyone to join the watch party. And me being the guy that I am and running the show and the channel that I am going to be paying attention to as many games as possible. So you watch whatever game you'd like. Of course, Miami kicks off at 11 a.m. They are the first of many that afternoon. And so we will be here with the watch party. So join us in the watch party. I will be interacting with you during the games. Just grab the Patreon link in the description section to get yourself signed up. And also keep in mind that following the game, we'll be back here live to talk Miami football with you, and the Holsum one will join us after the spring game. What else could you ask for? All right. Let's jump in the live chat, see what you've got. Wayne has been so attentive when it comes to encouraging everyone to support what we do here. Wayne, thank you so much for that. I've seen you in the live chats recently, just consistently asking people to support. I gave you the big rundown on how you can support. Please do. Dennis, good to see you, as always. Mr. HD's here, Hurricane Football. That's what he's here for. Ronan says there's somebody making a terrible attempt at coining my tagline. Well, let's put a stop to that. KC Kane 239, my apologies for being late. Number one, let's understand one thing. I'm always late. Let's understand number two, that I don't take any pride in that. I'm going to do my best to. That's one of my many flaws in life. One of my many flaws for many years. So I don't know at my age whether that's going to change, but it should. That's no excuse. It should change. We should be here on time. That also had to do with the Holsum ones held up at work, and we weren't able to come on live. And then it got later, and I thought that we needed to get things started. No new glasses, and I'm not even wearing my contacts. Wouldn't need the glasses necessarily if I would just keep wearing my contacts, but I get a little bit lazy when it comes to that. We just have to blow up the screen, and you just have to watch me squint. So that's what that comes down to. Casey Kane, 239. Is it Cam? Is it the Holsum one? We deliver the best of both worlds. We deliver both. For how many consecutive Thursday nights we've delivered both? The Holsum one at 5, Cam at 7. Wow. And me. And now that spring football is concluding across the country, you're going to see more rankings and ratings out of me than you could imagine. So look out. They're coming. A couple of days ago, we posted a video. Hopefully, all of you checked it out, where we ranked every team in college football, every program in college football. So let's be clear about that. That was not a ranking for the 2021 season. And that was not an all-time program ranking. It was my ranking of the programs in college football in 2021, 1 through 130. Where did Miami rank? Watch the video. Where did Miami rank in comparison to Florida State? In comparison to North Carolina? Check out the video. We not only posted the video on Tuesday, we did a live call-in show on Wednesday night and took your feedback. Debate topics. Yes. That's always my tagline. If you've noticed, the Rod Farva, that I not only say best discussion, debate, analysis, but when I'm asking for comments in the comment section and questions, I say debate topics. It's one of the main reasons we're here. Debate topics. Chris Guzman, what's up with you? Thanks for checking in. So our debate topic from the Rod Farva is 2001 Miami versus 2013 Florida State. Two undefeated national championship teams. We have waged this war for months on here and on the Florida State show. I think it's gotten to a point where I'm going to have to grind down the rosters, the depth charts, the numbers, the results, and size it up for everyone. So I will get to that at some point. I don't think we're necessarily going to discuss that this evening because it's been beat into the ground. The Rod Farva, Mark, your thoughts on Michigan losing Xavier Worthy before he even played a game. Was academics the issue? I don't know. I've not talked to any of the Michigan folks that I'm close to. Steve Dace, Justin Rowe, and Clayton Safey from Rivals. But yeah, I did see that. My thoughts are that they need playmakers at wide receiver and running back. And so if Xavier Worthy was worthy of an offer from Alabama, and he was, and they wanted him desperately, well, nothing Nick Saban does is desperate. They don't desperately need anyone at Alabama. They really wanted Xavier Worthy, and it appeared as though they had him. So that's the stamp of approval, of course. Michigan is more than solid at running back with Hassan Haskins leading the way. And of course, Donovan Edwards coming into the program. And of course, at wideout, they have they have recruited and signed a number of players that are similar to Xavier Worthy, but he was supposed to be the cream of the crop. So it hurts. But I may be bypassing. I think I will bypass any Miami, non-Miami related questions because this is the Miami show here. Ha ha ha. Ronan, Mark, remove that off yellow Burger King hat and the terrible construction hat from the top shelf, please. The U is the only helmet that belongs on that pedestal. When I sat down, the helmets were in whatever configuration they were. And I thought for a second, just leave them. And then I thought, oh, it's a Miami show. We'll lift Miami to the top shelf. And then I thought, you know what? Let's see who the first person is that comments on Florida and Florida State being on the top shelf with Miami. Ronan, you win. It looks good to me. It's a Florida themed show with the two chief rivals right there. It's the way it should be. Okay. Miami Flow, thank you so much for the super chat contribution. Always appreciate that. What's up, Mark? Keep up the great work. Hit the like button. Yeah, before we get revved up in conversation here with the Holsum one, everybody just please make sure to hit the like button. And for those of you just joining us, we're going to be here throughout the night talking Miami football in preparation for the spring game. Big spring game preview tonight, right now with the Holsum one coming up soon. Cam Underwood, State of the U, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Then on Saturday, we've got a watch party on Patreon that kicks off with the Miami game at 11 a.m. And you guys can watch whatever games that you would like. Others kick off at noon. But I'm going to be online at 11 o'clock for the watch party. And we are going to be back here after the Miami game to talk spring game. Spring game post right here, the voice of college football. Miami Flow, thank you. Appreciate that. Mr. HD gives me the thumbs up for a fair ranking for Miami's program. And that's roughly where I ranked the team in my way too early top 25 for 2021. Oh, Mr. Juxtapose coming in fast and hard. Heard half of Miami's garbage team is injured. Is that correct? Or are they starting to think up excuses as to why they will lose to Bama and App State, lost to App State? I also did some work on some win probabilities for the Canes. And so I'm going to post that video soon. Win probabilities for Miami, Clemson, Oklahoma, Texas, I worked on today. Win probabilities game by game. I have worked through most of the teams in the SEC, and they are posted to our SEC channel. So what's your probability in percentage form? Give a percentage probability possibility that Miami will beat Alabama, and I will compare it to mine. Miami, Alabama, what's the percentage chance that Miami wins that game? And just to follow up on what Mr. Juxtapose posted there, we'll go to the App State game, which is game number 2. Not an easy and not a gimme win. Miami Flow, appreciate it so much. D's in the house. D asks, hey, Mark, what unit would you like to see improve at Miami spring game on Saturday? Well, I'm not going to base it on the reports out of camp that we've talked about the last few weeks with Cam and the Holsum one. I'm going to base it on what I saw in watching every game last season. I did actually watch every Miami game last season. That has to be a first because usually there's going to be a Bethune-Cookman. And no, I'm not going to watch the Central Connecticut State game this year. The issue that I have in answering that question, D, is that to me, depending on how the spring game is formatted, there are some position groups and facets of the game that are more valid to evaluate than others. The most valid competition out there for any spring game to me are watching wide receivers go up against cornerbacks and defensive backs. That is the most valid evaluation of play because it is almost identical to a real game. You have your wide receivers running routes. You get to see whether they can gain separation. You get to see whether, if it's a 50-50 ball, who's winning those battles. You get to see the corners or the defensive backs' ball skills. You get to see whether they can break on the ball. You get to see whether they get lost in coverage. Just everything, unless somebody's got a different take on it, everything involving the wide receiver against defensive back play in a spring game situation is identical, other than if they're a bit safe in officiating the game in regards to the tackling, which I don't believe that they will. I think it's full on, full go for everybody, but of course the quarterback. So that's the most legitimate matchup to gauge. The offensive line, I would like to gauge against what is a solid, if not top 10 to 15 defensive line in the country. If the offensive line unit is playing together, depending on how they split the teams, that if the offensive line is unit, see, it would be my priority as a head coach to play the offensive line together. And if we had to put more talent on the other team to even it out, I would do so because I would want to see my first team offensive line work together. That's the position that is the most difficult to coordinate. It's the position that requires the most chemistry and teamwork by far, offensive line. So get all your offensive line. Don't split them up 3 and 2. Get all the starting offensive linemen on one team so that they can work together as a unit. If it was a real game, D, the unit that I would like to, the two units that I would like to see the most improvement out of would be the offensive line and the linebackers. Demetrius, good to see you. Thanks for dropping in. I believe that is D answering my question as to the chances that Miami have in beating Alabama in game 1. 20%. Okay. Did anybody else chime in on that one? Mr. HD, 5%. Ohio Canes fan, are there any links to stream the game? The spring games on the ACC network. Michael Love in the house. Michael, it's great to see you as always. Miami beating Bama. I'm pretty sure if we're being honest, it's about is that a 3% chance or is that a 0.03% chance? Ronan, Miami literally has to play perfect. Bama has to play worse than they have since Saban's first season. Not likely, not impossible, but I'm more worried about how the team looks. Well, I wouldn't go to that extreme, but I get the point, and it's reasonable. Everything you're saying is reasonable, Ronan. I wouldn't state it to that extent, but I get the point. It's an uphill climb. It is a huge, monumental challenge. The one bright spot in that is that it's game one, and Alabama will be starting a first-time starter at quarterback, of course, in Bryce Young. Even though he's super talented, five-star, it is going to be his first game. He has thrown a handful of passes. He's thrown one touchdown pass in garbage time last year. But it's his first meaningful action. And with the other offensive weapons, not necessarily the top offensive weapons are still coming back, not meaning Alabama lost, of course, the Heisman Trophy winner, the best player in college football, and others through the NFL draft, Najee Harris. But the guys coming back are productive. But those guys were productive in a third and fourth role at wide receiver and running back. They're now the prominent players, and then they're filling in guys that have yet to step on the field at this level that are going to have to be the third and fourth wide receivers. And as you guys know, we talk Alabama football a whole lot here. And so there are plenty of Alabama videos that we've set you up with, and including a spring game preview that we posted this morning. And the Alabama football team will be playing 3 hours after Miami kicks off. Kendall Ellis has it sized down to a 30.5% chance of beating Alabama and climbing each day. Well, it's only mid-April, would be tax day, mid-April, and they're playing September 4th. So if it's climbing every day and it's already at 31%, Miami's going to be the favorite by kickoff. That's a pretty healthy number there, Kendall. 30.5%. Miami's got a 30.5% chance of winning. Basically meaning that they would win 3 out of 10 games. Anthony chiming in with Mark in caps. I like that. Do you actually think De'Ara King will be healthy by the Alabama game, or do you think he will be ready after? I believe that if we can trust the reports that we're receiving, and De'Ara King was injured in the bowl game, which was played the last week of December. And so he is going to have until the last week of August, which is going to be 8 months. So it's going to be 8 months and 1 week from the time that he was injured to the Alabama game. And his rehab is apparently going extremely well, if we can believe the reports. I believe that if they think that he is in no more danger than any other football player on the field, that if he is not 100%, because once they've played one game, hardly anybody's on the field at 100% after that first game's played. And even going into the first game, based on practice and hitting, even though they hit less than they ever have, most of the team is not 100% going into the opener. And certainly after the first game, and after a first game against Alabama, not 100%. So he doesn't have to be 100%. But Cam and I discussed this last week during the show, and we both were on the same plane in terms of if he can make football moves and he can take reasonable football hits, anybody can get injured on any play. However, if he is capable of running at near full capacity, 90+%, and the stamina and the wear and tear taken on the knee, the Achilles, is at a point where it can take a reasonable beating from a wear and tear and hits from a football game, that he'll be out there. And I would give that I think it's reasonable to think a 75 to 80% chance that he will play against Alabama. Mr. Juxtapose, does Miami have any wide receivers on the roster that can catch a cold? Any linebackers that can tackle? Yeah, they brought back some guys that I think caught a cold over the winter. I think some of their wide receivers, from what I heard, did catch a cold over the winter. Hopefully they're better, even though it's difficult to do that in South Florida. And they've got a few linebackers that can tackle. Maybe 1 out of 4 times. Anthony says that Miami's got a 33% chance of beating Alabama. Mr. Juxtapose says that Miami could still lose by 30 even if the Air Kings had 110%. And you're right, they could. And of course, everyone has the ACC network. It's a steep hill, Ronan. It's a steep hill. It's a tricky hill. Aiden Chris. So right after Alabama comes Appalachian State and Michigan State. Both those games are in Coral Gables. Miami should win both of those games. They should win them decidedly. I'm not going to say easily. That would be a bit of an insult to App State and Michigan State. They have athletes. They have players, especially Michigan State, that will play at the next level. Appalachian State has accomplished a ton in the Sun Belt Conference. They are the cream of that conference. They have been the conference champion 4 consecutive years. They did not play a conference championship game last year, but they would have played in that game again. They are 42-10 the last 4 years. The schools met in 2016. Appalachian State wasn't quite where they are now. They were just getting to the point of being one of the upper tier teams. They were an upper tier team in their conference, but Arkansas State was the team in the Sun Belt at the time. And of course, Miami went to Boone, North Carolina, and dusted them pretty well, 45-10. Miami and Michigan State haven't played in forever. I believe 1989 was the last time they played. And I would expect from a physicality standpoint that Michigan State would be up to the challenge. But Miami is a far superior team athletically. Check my language on far superior. Decidedly superior athletically. Miami has a top 15 team athletically, and Michigan State is a top 40, 45 team athletically. So in terms of speed and athleticism, Miami has a huge advantage. Plus, they have a veteran quarterback who's one of the best in the nation. And Michigan State, we will find out who wins the quarterback job. Their starting quarterback from last year lost the job and then transferred. Rocky Lombardi. Kyle Smith in the house. What's up, Mark? Haven't made a live lately. I've been on the rewatch squad. Well, that's good to know, Kyle. Again, we're waiting on the Holsum one here at the Voice of College Football on our Miami show, and we're coming back at 7 o'clock Eastern time for another edition with Cam Underwood from State of the U. And the way things are going, we might just merge them together. And then for those of you who did not hear us off the top, we've got a watch party scheduled for Saturday's spring game at 11 a.m. You can watch whatever spring games that you'd like. I will be watching as many as possible, but it will kick off with a Miami game at 11 a.m. Join us on Patreon. If you need to know how to find us, grab the link in the description section of any of the videos, and you can grab the link to Patreon. Or just go to Patreon and search Mark Rogers TV and join our watch party. And then we'll be here live after the game for postgame. Shop Amazon. And when you shop Amazon, please use the link in the description section and help us build the channel. There he is. We got the Holsum one on the line to talk Miami football. Here we go.
Mark, I apologize. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Do not go to AutoZone, okay? And then try to figure out what you need yourself. I probably should have just went to the shop the first time. I tried to be independent, didn't work out, so I go to the shop. It took me 30 minutes, turns out to be an hour and 30. So I do apologize, but we are here, and I'm here to dedicate my hour to you talking about those canes. So let's do it.
I can think of a few people I like on YouTube, and I can actually think of somebody that in my personal life that likes to use that comment from time to time when kind of rehashing what's happened before and just say, hey, we're here now. That's what matters. We've got a spring game coming up here, if you didn't know that, Holsum one. And I've been letting everybody know that after the spring game, we're going to be here.
Yeah, we'll be here talking these canes, and hopefully they don't make us too angry. And we'll
I'm not going to be angry.
I bet you won't.
I'll be in a good mood. Either way.
Yeah. Okay. Cool beans.
We're all going to check out the spring game and then join the Holsum one and myself right here for post game.
Absolutely.
All right. Since the last time we talked Holsum one, what you got for us?
Well, good. I'll get to the bad first, but we have some tough news when it comes to the Canes. So there are a couple players who will not be a part of Saturday's spring game. I don't know if someone's already put it in the comment section or maybe you read it in an article, but I'll go down the list of players. There are 15 who will be missing this. So, of course, you have Nasty Nestor Silvera and Will Mallory and De'Aaron King. Those three have missed the entire spring already. Nesta and Will Mallory are shoulder injuries, so they've already been sitting out. All right. So, Bubba Bolden, Light Skin Warrior, is out with a toe injury. Sam Brooks is out with also a toe injury. Jeremiah Payton tore his meniscus, so he's out. Cleveland Reed with a pectoral muscle issue. All right. Elijah Arroyo, the big-time freshman a tight end that everybody's loving on. He's out due to a knee injury. Al Blaze Jr., a stress fracture. Marcus Clark with his jaw. Corey Couch with a neck injury. Brian Balin with a neck injury due to a car accident. So that's like non-football related. So I'm happy he's okay. Michael McLaughlin, the freshman that we've been talking about, he's out with a patella, and Donald Chaney Jr. is out with a shoulder injury also. Plus, Dominique Mammarelli is going to be out of the game as well. So I don't know if, as a result of this, will it no longer be the orange versus white, if they'll just do first team, second team, and second team. Because originally we were going to do an orange and white game, have enough players on that side. It was going to be the first time in a while that Miami was going to be able to have enough players on each team to be able to combat. But losing 15 guys right the week of, well, all of this has been, some of it's been gradual, but I think 4 or 5 of them were the week of spring ball. So the spring game, well, it's a little tough, but all you can really say, and this is without being disingenuous, is just saying that next man up. This is why coaches recruit the way that they recruit. This is why they stack player on top of player on top of player, 4-star on top of 4-star. This is why, because injuries are a part of the game. You lose 25% of your roster every single year. So when people say, why go there? There's so many people. Listen, there's always room. There's always room. So that's what's going on with Miami roster-wise. That's the bad part. The good part is, Mark, this is where those younger and those rotational young men get a chance to shine on the ACC digital network and in front of a nice, because people will be watching, Mark. I mean, Miami's kind of always that preseason talk team, but this year it seems that it has a little bit of stability behind it. So enough people are very interested in what Miami can bring to the table. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be top 5, but there is talk of at least a top 15, top 20 team brewing down there in Coral Gables. So I expect enough people who are Canes fans or Canes haters to be tuned in to the ACC digital network and see what the Canes are going to bring to the table.
BGPO Football Funk, thank you so much for the super chat, DeAndre. Appreciate that. Who has the better roster, North Carolina or Miami? Before we get to that, I will let you know, Holsum One, that I delivered some program rankings this week. I'm going to serve those up for you. And also the ESPN Football Power Index came out. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, and don't know how much that's worth, really. But we can if we get to it and we have time, we can talk about it, because it kind of plays into this question to a certain extent, North Carolina or Miami, who is a better roster? And it's a great question because it's not easily decided. I could take an argument for either roster. I would say that Miami.
Let's go down the line then, Mark. Why not? Quarterback, who would you give the nod to? North Carolina. Running back, who would you give the nod to?
You're right. Yeah, I think Sam Howell is. Am I missing anyone? I think he's the best quarterback coming back in college football.
Absolutely. I mean, you got DJ Olatulale at Clemson, but he's
Spencer
not really
Rattler
proven just yet. Spencer Rattler, he's sporadic Spencer. Depends on which Spencer you get.
Well, I think
there's
he's
a
be
pocket.
pretty good.
Oh, I think he's going to be great too, but there's like a pocket of last year where you're like, and then he kind of pulls it together, and for like a 6-game stretch there, he was balling, and especially in the bowl game where Florida just decided to give up, and their head coach is like, well, this team played their last game against Bama, which arguably was like one of the best games of the season, but still just have everybody quit on you, and you're just like, oh yeah, it's okay. We sucked. It's all right. Not a big deal. It's COVID year. Not a big deal. That was bad. So I agree. I definitely think that Sam Howell is probably the best. I don't know if he's the first overall pick. I think there's some other players who, like Evan Neal, offensive tackle at Bama, Kayvon Thibodeau, defensive end at Oregon.
Yep.
Stingley at LSU.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing anybody who's like big time?
Who could be like a top 5 pick?
That's 3 right there. And then I'll put Howell as like 4th or 5th somewhere in the country right now. I don't.
The thing about
backs like that?
The thing about North Carolina is Breece Hall at Iowa State. The thing about trying to evaluate North Carolina at running back or wide receiver is that the guys that will be playing this year are highly thought of, but they didn't play much. They lost their top 3 receivers and their top 2 running backs. I know their offensive line's better.
Oh, yeah, that's not even a question. So even if we did that, okay, so we give them, let's say you give the nod to running back for Miami due to Cam. I mean, you got to see Cam Harris all last season. I mean, I think he's like at least he's a top 3 back in the ACC, no question. I don't really see, especially returning. Now, last year I can understand why people would argue that, but he's at least top 3 returning back in the ACC. There's an argument that he's the best, but I mean, I don't really feel like doing that right now. So I would give Miami the nod at running back. I would give, man, it depends on what starting wide receivers you're talking about is going to fill for Miami at wide receiver. Let's call that one an even split. How about that? Let's call that a split. Tight end, what would you say? I say Miami, but I'm also biased.
Yeah, Miami's got the tight end position. Yes, absolutely.
And they have O-line. Okay.
Yeah.
Defense.
North Carolina had an improving defense last year.
Right.
They weren't good, but they were getting better. And they bring back 10 starters off their defense. They lose their best player, Chaz Surratt, who was phenomenal. He's gone, but everybody else comes back.
Absolutely. So I would say defensive line. That's a tough one though, because Miami, we're returning Nesta and the other guys at D tackle, but at DM we have Jafari Harvey, who will be a first-time starter. 53, who's moving to a new position. So I don't know. The linebacker would have to be UNC because our linebacking core is the worst in college football. So I would say that has to be UNC. Cornerback, I would give to UNC, but safety, I would give to Miami.
I think that's all fair across the board. So we're going quarterback, North Carolina, running back, Miami, edge, receiver, push, offensive line, North Carolina, defensive line, Miami, linebackers, North Carolina, corners, North Carolina, safeties, Miami. Special teams, I'd go Miami.
Tight end, I would go Miami. So 6-4, you would say Miami has the better roster if we just went by position. But at the end of the day, Mark, we both know that. I mean, thank you for the question, Football Funk. We appreciate the question, but we all know Miami can't say or do anything when it comes to UNC until we get a chance to step on the field and see what happens when two teams line up, especially based off of what happened last year. There's a lot to be said. There's a lot to be done. So,
that all said, I think the rosters are extremely comparable, as we just outlined. But if somebody held a gun to my head, I'm taking North Carolina's roster.
Okay.
But I think it's razor close.
Okay.
All right. What were we in the middle of when we got that question? Oh, we were setting up all these injuries.
Yeah, the injuries that's going on. I think that it's with Miami being private and keeping everything under wraps. I still don't get. It's a luxury to have, but come on, man, let it out, let it be known. I don't understand that. It's a luxury every coach that's at a private school gets to use that public schools can't. All right, that's public information. There's people who care about this institution. There's people who care about these players. They need to know that these young men are not out there getting better and that they're nursing injuries. That's just fair. Okay. I mean, shoot, we on here talking about Jeremiah Payton, wondering when is he ever going to show up, to know that he's been sitting out almost the whole spring due to this injury. But they get to just withhold that from people? No, that's not cool at all. That is not cool at all. Go ahead with what you got to say. Then I also have good news coming up here next month.
You know what? Go ahead with the good news, because I've got a point to make about the spring game. And one thing that I would do as a head coach during the spring game that I actually already threw out for everybody a few minutes ago, but I want to get your take.
Sure. All right. So according to 247 Sports, these current players are eligible to come into the University of Miami in summer session A, meaning they get to be here May 16th and May 17th, move in these 2 days to start their training at the University of Miami. So we have James Williams, 5-star safety, gets everything done to be able to make it to summer session A. Thank you. Leonard Taylor, 5-star defensive tackle, gets to make it in early, summer session A. Brashad Smith, slot wide receiver, gets to make it in. Romello Brinson, 4-star X wide receiver, gets to make it in. Jacoby George, 4-star receiver. Lawrence Seymour, big baby, offensive guard out of Miami Central, 4-star guard. And Khalil Brantley, which is basically Brevin Jordan 2.0, kind of your H-back style tight end. He's able to make it in for summer session A. These are some of our, if not all of our best players are going to be on campus here in a month. And it just brings a smile to my face, because for a while we always had to deal with somebody being late, somebody not making it till July, August, right before the season. They just got into school, and we got a lot of our big time players being able to get in and be a part of our summer training program ASAP. And that's huge. That's huge for this program. That's huge, man. Like I always say, I would love if majority of the class could be early enrollees, but that's a little iffy subject there.
So in terms of my approach as a coach to the spring game, there would be, especially for this team, considering the struggles along the offensive front, that would be paramount to me. One would be, I don't know what we would have to do with balancing the two rosters, but I would want the entire offensive line, starting offensive line, to play together. I wouldn't split up the offensive line. I'd say I want all these guys playing. They need as many competitive snaps to work together as an offensive unit, and I want to see them all play together.
I agree. What I was thinking is, if you've made the first team, of course, especially the original plan of orange and white. So you make the orange team is comprised of the first team O, second team D. The white team is second team O, first team D. And I would sprinkle everybody in behind those starters and those backups. All right. And that way it's not just all the ones being on one team, kind of like how the A-Day does. The cool part about A-Day, when you watch Bama's the spring game, is like the winners get a steak dinner, the losers get hot dogs and beans. So it's an ongoing thing every year, where you're a part of the winning or the losing spring game team. Did you win A-Day or did you lose A-Day? And it starts from that point forward, creating that competition. So I really like that thought process.
Ronan, there's my man. Head on over and join Mark on Patreon. It costs less than Starbucks a day. Oh, it's a lot less than that. It's about 16 cents a day. And it's much better for the soul Don't forget to hit the like. Keep up the great work, gentlemen. Go Canes. And one of the reasons Ronan is spotlighting that is that we're going to have our watch party starting at 11 a.m. on a Saturday over on Patreon. So as right before the Canes kickoff, Saturday, we'll be doing a watch party on Patreon. And then whatever other spring games you want to watch, you can watch whatever you want. But I'll be talking college football with all of you during the Miami spring game. Then we'll be back here with a Holsum one to do post game, give our analysis on what we saw.
Heck yeah, I'm excited. So go ahead with. Oh, you already talked about what you were going to propose with the O-line.
Somebody in particular in here, Holsum One, is very concerned about where Greg Russo is going to play in the NFL. I don't know if you have any thoughts about. We could look up all sorts of mock drafts from the experts, but in regards to what a good fit or a good organization for him would be.
Greg Rousseau has gone from the number one defensive end down pretty far after that pro day. It was pretty bad. He didn't really look as explosive. And with his film having a lot of question marks to it, plus he goes out there and has a pretty subpar broad. I think it was like he had a 30-inch vert and like a 9.5 broad. It's pretty bad compared to what you would want your number one or top tier first round edge rusher to have. So for me, there were a couple teams that I saw in the latter half of the first round that I thought fit Greg Rousseau very well. My Baltimore Ravens is one of them. Now I made this the reason why I felt like it works out well. Calais Campbell, you know the name, you know the player, from when he was at Miami all the way through. 6'8". He was 280 when he got drafted. He's like 308, 312 pounds now as an interior guy for my Ravens. Now, when he was a part of a 34 team, he plays the 4-eye technique. When he was a Jaguar for those couple of seasons, he played the true edge on the strong side and then kicked inside on third downs. So with him being able to go and take Greg under his wing, they're very similar in their build and their style of play. I think that would be ultra beautiful for Greg Rousseau to go 25th overall to the Baltimore Ravens. Number one, selfishly, it's my squad. I would love to root for him to go be a part of my squad, and he would not have to be the guy too early on in his career to where everything is just pushed on him, that pressure's on him. And if he doesn't succeed, then people now call him a bust. You rarely hear about late first-round busts because people don't expect much from late-round players because, I mean, let's be honest, you're basically going to one of the better teams on the latter half of the first round. And if you're the last four picks, you're going to either the AFC Championship or NFC Championship losing team or one of the teams that play in the freaking Super Bowl. So you're going to a pretty good organization if you go late in the first round. So the pressure isn't always super high on those young men. They get a chance to grow and really be a part of a good org. So that's why I see Greg Rousseau. As far as scheme fit, I think he's a 3-4 interior guy. I do not see him as a 3-4 outside linebacker, except for a couple of teams. My Ravens, I think he can play on the outside because we like those bigger, stronger outside linebackers. I mean, heck, look at Terrell Suggs. He's 6'3", 270. He's a true DN on almost any other team. He played linebacker for us in a 34 scheme. Okay. That's what's going on with that. You also look at the Pittsburgh Steelers. I could see them liking him opposite of T.J. Watt. Also look at a team like the Green Bay Packers where he could be behind the Smith brothers. And then once one of them wants to leave after paying all that money, you have this young edge rusher who is a latter first-round draft pick. You're not paying him that much. If he gives you a little bit on third downs to come in and rush the passer, now you can invest a little bit of money into him year 4, year 5, when you only been paying him not necessarily scraps, but nothing like paying the Smith brothers, who are both on $10+ million contracts each. So that makes sense mathematically. It also makes sense schematically. And on third downs, you can kick him inside and have him battle against guards next to the defensive tackle Clark, who paid for them, number 97 Clark. So I think that's what makes real good sense for Greg Rousseau as an NFL prospect.
Get your Miami mask for free at voiceofcollegefootball.com. Even if you don't want a mask, I get that. Just check out our product there at the voiceofcollegefootball.com. And we built that site about 2 months ago. And just please support us there by registering for free. That sets you up to get the free mask, 20% off your first purchase, entry into a selection for a $25 gift card as well, voiceofcollegefootball.com. And as we go through the summer, you're going to see that site hopefully blow up because we're going to provide some things I'm trying to wrestle around with, like, prediction leagues and fantasy football leagues, those sorts of things that we want to get set up for next season. But I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver, so we'll just put it on the back burner in regards to those are the kind of things that I would like to do. But when I'm producing 82 videos a week, that's sometimes difficult to do. So we're trying to do our best, but I would love to do all those things. All right, Holsum One. This is what ESPN thinks of Miami going into 2021. Oh, no. And then I'll let you know what I think of Miami as a program. So there's going to be a distinction made there. And I don't necessarily have anything to go on in terms of evaluating ESPN selections in previous years, but off the top of my head, there have been some ugly moments for my former employer when it comes to projecting what football teams are going to do that particular season. For example, we were joking about this during the Ohio State show yesterday. It wasn't last year. It was going into 2019. So this is transition from Urban Meyer to Ryan Day. This is transition from Dwayne Haskins to an inexperienced Justin Fields. So I get it. They put a lot of weight in this particular system on change at quarterback versus stability at quarterback, change at head coach versus stability. But they ranked Ohio State like 14th in the country and gave them a 1% chance of making the playoff and gave them a 7% chance of winning the Big Ten. Now, come on. Ohio State's going to, if they could play 100 Big Ten seasons, like any Ohio State team is only going to win the Big Ten 7 times. And of course, we know Ohio State, they go undefeated. And this is 2 years ago. They're in the playoff and they kill everybody in the Big Ten. And that's
and
one
they should have been playing LSU and the freaking Natty, but then
that'd have been a great game. So anyway, that's just one of many examples. And any prognostication, I have a long list. If anybody would keep track of horrible predictions, we all make them. If you make them long enough, you're going to make some bad predictions. I get it. Okay. That said, there's all sorts of charts and lists and rows of numbers that don't mean anything to me. The two things that mean something to me on this FPI is that they rank the teams 1 through 130. And that means that they think that team number 1 is the best team in the country. That team number 2 is the second most talented on down the line. It has nothing to do with the schedule. But then they combine it with how difficult they think the schedule is and then give you a projection of the record. So this is what it is for the Canes. They've got Miami as what would be your guess, and also what would be your projection of where Miami ranks going into 2021 as it stands right now?
27, 28, somewhere in there.
They've got Miami at number 20. And they basically have an 8-4 record when it comes right down to it, because they go through all these analytics. So it's not even. It says 7.9 wins, 4.4 losses. And why that's uneven, if that doesn't make any sense to anyone, because it's over 12, it's because they are taking into consideration the percentage chance of going to the conference championship game and then either winning or losing that. So basically, they've got Miami going 8-4. And they say that Miami's the 20th best team in the country.
I would agree. That's always been my record. 8-3, 8-4, 9-4, 9-4. Excuse me, 8-3. No, 9-3, 8-4. I don't know. I couldn't do math there for a quick second. That's gonna be bad on #RewatchSquad.
So this is a Miami show, so I'm not going to go into the teams that I just can't imagine. I'm going to post I'm just going to have to post a video and tear into this thing because I will. But I will state that I posted a video earlier this week and I ranked the program. So I'm making a distinction there. I'm not talking about just this team.
This season, yeah.
Talking about as a program. And I'm not going into ancient history either. This is where I believe the program stands right this second. And I went 1 through 130. And I'm not saying I went through for months and months and months. And of course, I couldn't go to the extreme of looking at facilities and all that sort of thing. There's just no way. I'm not going to be rating Eastern Michigan's facilities against Western. That would have taken a massive amount of work. So basically, I'm looking at rosters and coaching staffs and understanding how quality and stable the program is. And I ranked Miami going into 21 as a program, the 16th best program in the country.
Wow. Y'all are being nice, man. Hey, I would love that. I'll take that. 16 out of the whole country?
Went 16.
Thank you. I like it. I don't disagree. I mean, for me, I would put us a little lower, but that's just me. I mean, you talk about facilities, you talk about buying, you talk about investment. I think you're right around the ballpark of where I would honestly be, probably like 20 of 21, somewhere in there. Because Miami, for the first time, has been putting over the last 2 years, has put a lot into their program, especially with facilities, and secondly, with coaching staff. So I can see it. I can definitely see it. Oh no. Oh no. I hope they don't do Jalen Phillips to the Dolphins. No Canes. There's a couple teams I don't want my Canes going, Mark. The Brownies, the Dolphins, the Raiders. Please. Those are very dysfunctional, very emotional officers, and the Bears. Oh. Throw it away. Throw it out.
I get it.
Better football teams.
I get it. Well, if they play out this spring game, Holsum one, like they typically do in regards to the format of the teams and so forth, I talked a little bit about before you came on what I think is valid in most spring games and what is not, what is difficult to evaluate, what is not. And to me, there is nothing more valid than wide receivers taking on defensive backs in space. Because even though everything else might be compromised, that's as close to a real football game as it gets compared to everything else on the field.
I agree.
That's pretty much what it is during a regular game. And so you can really evaluate, as long as you get the camera angles that you can see the matchups and see who gets lost in coverage, see who separates. Of course, you're going to see if the ball's thrown the 50-50, who's winning those battles. You can see all that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the most valid part of a spring game.
I think that is probably the only thing, because and tackling, quality of tackling. Here's why. If you look at O-line, D-line, especially with a team like the Miami Hurricanes, we've had pretty crappy O-line for a while. So if the D-line goes out there and dominates, is that saying that they're good, or is this O-line bad? All right, we would lean a little bit more to this O-line is still bad. So that's where, and you have to really know the team that you're evaluating, the team that you're watching. Obviously, if you turn on the Alabama A-Day and their O-line's getting beat down, they're full of 5-stars. So most likely their D-line is just elite. All right. But if you turn on the Miami film, especially last year, we got Gaynor and Scaife and Clark up the middle. All these dudes are like 290, 285 pounds. That would tell you, because they're not people movers. So that's why nothing's really happening up front. But there's a couple guys I'm just so excited to see. Unfortunately, with hearing about Brian Balaam and Light Skin Warrior, that means we're going to see a crap ton of Avante Williams. Watch out for Miami Hurricanes number 15, Avonte Williams. We're also going to see Keontra Smith, who's been moving outside to weak side linebacker. He's also played some strong safety. He plays striker for us by position. With Amari Carter, excited to see him moving down to striker as a full-time striker for the Miami Hurricanes. So those are some guys. I want to see Tyreek Stevenson because I'm tired of the fan base when this dude, they upload highlight tapes, and yes, he ends up getting bombed. But who the heck is going to – what are going to upload highlights of a pass breakup? No, they're going to upload the highlights of the touchdowns, man. Like, come on, man. Cam Kinchins is another one of those prospects. Someone I talked with you ad nauseum about. So excited about him as a Cane and being able to give it to us at the strong safety position. So you're going to see Avonte. You're going to see Cam Kinchins back there because they're Gervin Hall. I'm hoping he's turned the corner as a prospect. He had a little bit of a down junior season. So DJ Ivy, I want to see the influx of Jamarcus Van Dyke, former Miami Hurricanes cornerback and second-round draft pick, going to the NFL, now coaching at the University of Miami. I want to see his influx on a particular player like DJ Ivy, who has been the talk of the town. Everybody got something to say about him and his play at the University of Miami at corner. So I'm hoping DVD is able to change things around for him and put him in a better position. That's defense. Offense, you got number 7, Xavier Restrepo. Super excited to see him. Unfortunately, with Donald Chaney Jr. being out with that shoulder injury, you're going to see a crap ton of Cam and Knight. And now it's not unfortunate to see them. It's just unfortunate that we're going to get an influx of them due to an injury. All right. I've come on here and spoken with you before. I've spoken hard about it on my channel, man. The whole us petting one back against another back to force somebody to rise to the top. This is not 1990 anymore, man. You can use 3, 4, 5 backs in a game. Heck, you can use 3 backs in one drive if we're being honest. That's just how you play modern football, man. So I'm glad that Coach Red Lashley kind of walked a couple of those comments back a little bit. So that's good. Yeah, I'm excited about that.
Now,
those
of course, yep. Unfortunate that Derek King's obviously rehabbing, but I guess the positive is that we get to see the other quarterbacks play more than they would otherwise. And so my thought about evaluating quarterbacks in a spring game is I don't think we get a real good feel on how much they can command the offense or what kind of leaders they are. But we can see the ball come out of their hand, and we don't get a real good judgment on elusiveness or elusiveness to a certain extent. But they're not going to break tackles because one hand and they're down. So I've been watching this. I saw the Florida State spring game. I saw the Clemson spring game. I saw some of the North Carolina State spring game, and that was one of the more annoying aspects of it. Was I would like to see at least 2-hand touch. Guys are getting a fingertip on a jersey and the quarterback's down, and you're like, well, he was barely he was flushing out of the pocket. He would have never been sacked in a real game. He was gone.
I'm gonna be honest with you, Mark.
Yep.
This may sound nuts. This may be the defense that are in me, but I would make the QB live. Here's why. They're backing up De'Aaron King. So you know who your starter is. Why not? I mean, let's be honest. Both of them would not get hurt at the exact same time in the game. So if one just does so happen to go down, you still have another one who could play as a backup. But to have both of them be live, I think it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
It also completely negates the option of the running quarterback, the option of the quarterback keeper, the mesh point. I saw this a number of times in watching those spring games. The defenders knew that they went with the back because if the quarterback kept it, he's not going to just completely run away with nobody touching him. And as soon as somebody touches him, he's down.
Right.
It completely negates that option. But in terms of watching the quarterbacks, so I mentioned the things that I can't get a gauge on. Again, leadership, command of the offense, those things I can't, at least. But you can see if they're gonna. You can judge the velocity and the accuracy on the ball, whether they're throwing on time, whether they're throwing it to the right guy.
I agree. I think, man, there's a couple guys that, as I'm just sitting here thinking, Avery Huff, man, he jumping off the screen to people and being able to see Gilbert Frierson out there, seeing if BJ Jennings and Wayman Steed got their head out of their behind, and could they give us something on the freaking field? To see if 91 and 96, Miller and Ford, can somebody freaking make a play up front. I just, you get excited because you want to see the young men succeed. But in a game like this, for one side to succeed, now the conversation starts, well, does the other side suck? Like, let's say if our linebackers have a really good day, now they're going to be back on the Cam Harris isn't good train. You know, that's been building up for a while here on social media and on YouTube with other people. If our wide receivers have a big day and they make really good plays on the ball, attacking the ball, and they win a couple 50-50 balls, now they're magically going to say, our corners suck, and why do we hire Coach T. Rob? If this keeps happening, bring back, you know, people always find a way to complain about something, as opposed to just be happy for guys making plays, especially these young men.
Anthony had commented earlier in the chat, and I responded to that comment, and I don't know that he exactly liked what I had to say, so he's going to give it another shot with you. He doesn't think De'Ara King, regardless of what condition he's in, should start against Alabama.
If I'm being honest with you, Anthony, I could understand where you're coming from. I can understand why you feel the way that you do. But for Miami to be put in their best position to try to win this game, their best player needs to be on the field. If he is healthy or as close to 100% as he can, put him on the field. But I do agree, if he's like 70, 80, somewhere in there, don't field him.
Absolutely.
And go with one of the young men. I mean, you want to also think about that young man as a human being, as a person. You don't want to throw him out there, especially to the dogs of Alabama, and he just gets broken up. You know, we don't need what happened with Francois when they played Tallahassee. We don't need something like that happening to De'Ara King. And then a second one of those could really ruin your career. So I don't think that would be a good thing.
And the opponent does matter, because in game one, you are facing an opponent that you most likely won't beat. Now, do you preach that to your team, or do you talk about that yourself? No. You play to win, and you build the mindset to win the game. But most likely you're not going to win the game regardless. And on top of that, to the Holsum one's point, this team is physical. They're as physical, if not more so, than anybody you're going to play. So, I see it. I see it a situation almost where if they were playing somebody in the middle of the country, like if they were playing somebody that they were going to walk over, like if they're playing a mid-tier group of 5, then you almost make the decision, we won't play him because we don't need him, and why risk the injury and give him another week, and we'll get ready for this other team. But this is to the other end of the spectrum. This team is serious, and they can hit, and probably, again, in the back of your mind, we're probably not going to win anyway, where you would think the highest probability of putting De'Ara King out there would be against a team that's on your level, where it's like, well, we need him.
Jeez,
and we can win this game.
We're not going to win anyway.
No. I'm not saying you talk about it.
Oh, I love how you just threw that in there. He's like, oh, well, we're not going to win anyway, coach. So what are we going to do here? You're not wrong. You are not wrong. And people get mad at me, man. I have people come in and call me soft and I'm not a real Cane because I don't see Miami beating Bama. Look at all that they've lost. Nick Saban's getting old. All type of comments, dog. And I'm just like, okay. People love to see you lose your stuff. People, because they win. You know, when you respond and you give people what they want, they win because they know that they've gotten under your skin. So sometimes I'm able to just keep it moving, man. But it's like this game has almost divided the fan base to where it's like you want me to hop up and give you all the hoop and holler and scream at you and give you a Ray Lewis speech about we want all the smoke. I understand this team is not going to go out there and lay down. This team's going to fight. They're going to prepare. They're going to give their all. But we're running into the best program in college football history. Like, this is not a game to them. This is strictly business to them. When I read one of the articles about a prospect who picked Alabama when he was going to the NFL draft, and he literally said it's because it was a business decision. I could have gone to my hometown school. I could have gone to all these other institutions that had offers from all over the country. But I chose to go to Alabama because it's a business decision. And they take football just as seriously as I do, if not more. And if I want to be the best, I join the best. And you can do nothing but respect players that do that.
You probably saw the video that leaked of Nick Saban talking to a recruit. Mm-hmm. Did you hear about this or see it? I just saw it a couple of weeks ago where he basically just laid it out. We win championships. All these other people want to win championships, and he laid out the numbers. This is how many players we've got in the NFL. This is who's second. He didn't say their name, but this is how many they've got.
Yeah,
we've got this many championships.
30 or 40, which was Miami. We had 30 or 40 players in the NFL this past year, second most.
The last count I saw, I looked up going into 2020 or at the end of 2020, and it was Alabama 56, Ohio State 50. That's the last number I saw.
Could be. He said the nearest one was 40, so he could have been. Could be. Either way. The other thing was this man, he said we've had more linebackers drafted than games lost in the last decade.
Yeah.
What?
That's crazy.
Wow. Shoot, Miami's had 2 linebackers drafted in the last decade.
And 2 losses to Duke.
Did I just say it out loud? Is that that's a thing? Oh, no. No, 3. Sean Spence, Denzel Perryman, Shaq Quarterman. 3 linebackers in 10 years. That's bad. Mark, let me ask you a question before I go.
Yep.
There seems to be this misunderstanding at Miami that talent hasn't been a problem, right? People with talent hasn't coaching, right? So I'm on the phone, I'm talking, and before I go into work this morning, right? Something dawned on me. We were sitting there talking about wide receiver cores and all these big time cores in college ball over the last 10 years. We just took from 2010 through 2020. Alabama, you go through Alabama, there's all these big time names, which is arguably some of the best players in college football history. You got Julio Jones. After Julio was Coop. After Coop was Ridley. After Ridley is Judy. After Judy came Ruggs. This year you got Smith, and you also have Waddle. That's 8. That'll be 8 first rounders. That's not including some of the other guys who have kind of been a part of their growth in the last decade, right? So I'm sitting here, and we went through LSU, talk about, Odell Beckham Jr. and Juice Landry, Jefferson, Chase. Those are pretty good guys. Then we were sitting there talking about the U. And stop me when you hear big time player. You ready? Braxton Berrios, Stacy Coley, Amon Richards, Alan Hearns, Philip Dorsett, Travis Benjamin. Those are the best wide receivers of the last decade. So, and of course, this is a Miami show. I'm a Miami fanatic, Miami YouTuber, Miami guy. This is my thing. But when we sit and we truly think about it, how crappy our program has been. I mean, half of those Alabama guys I just named are from Dade or Broward County, who more than likely, let's just say we get 2 of those 8. Maybe in all likelihood, we would have gotten Coop and we would have Ridley. I don't know. He was a little iffy on Miami, but also Devontae Smith was very interested in Miami, Louisiana. But let's say if we get Coop and Judy, let's say those 2 out of everyone else. That's a bigger influx of true talent, not borderline 4-star, not overachieving 3-star. You're talking about guys who are program-changing talents brought into your program. You can't say we've had any. Amon Richards is definitely up there. He may be the best of the last decade. Statistically, you would say Philip Dorsett was, as you saw him going in the first round, which we all were wondering why the heck they did that, but okay. Then you would also say Philip Dorsett would be statistically. Alan Hearns had a really good senior season. But then it's like, that's it? It's a big drop-off between those guys and Berrios and Jeff Thomas and Lawrence Cager. Like, that's a big difference, man.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it. When you list 8 Alabama wide receivers, and if you put those 2 groups of wide receivers together, all the Alabama receivers would be 1 through 8, and then the Miami receivers in whatever order would be 9 through whatever. None of the Miami receivers that you just named would break into that Alabama group.
It just doesn't make any sense. I was about to comment something, and I'm glad I didn't let that person get under my skin. I'm gonna exit that off, and I'm gonna put the phone down. I almost just responded to this dude in your comment section, but I'm not gonna let him win. I just talked about it earlier. I'm not gonna let him win. God bless you.
I had to send somebody on their way. And then there was somebody else that was being complained about that I couldn't quite track down exactly what they were throwing out there. So
now this dude knows who he is. He does this on Twitter too, and I just keep scrolling. And I just ignore it. But anyway, I like comparing us to Bama. I mean, of course, we're playing Bama first game of the season, but the reason why I bring it up is because it's a team that, because of our downfall and them ascending, has directly influenced our program. I even look at teams like Bama and Clemson's success in Georgia have directly influenced the state of Florida because they come down and grab. I mean, heck, during the building of Dabo Swinney, he came into Tampa and got Deion Kane. He came down there and got D-Hop, because D-Hop ain't from South Carolina. So he hopped in there and grabbed a couple of our young men and pulled them out of the state who, if you go back maybe a decade or 2, when all the best talent went in the Big 3 and divvied up between the Big 3, but because Florida has always been kind of They do well, but they're not over the hump.
Yeah.
Tallahassee is, and Miami is, they'll do well, but never over the hump. These best prospects in the state go, all right, well, I'm going to Georgia. All right, I'll go to Bama. All right, I'll go to Clemson. Oh, it's Sammy Watkins. Thank you, John. Sammy Watkins, not Diop. I know it was one of the two who were from here who went up to Clemson instead of staying down here. But I don't want people to think that I'm here to kiss any other teams behind. That's not what I'm doing. But if we want to be good, you have to compare. And when I say good, I would say Miami's already good.
Sure.
Miami's already an 8-9 win program right now when they play well. But the top echelon, elite, great, why are you not comparing yourself to? And there's a difference to me between elite and great, because I would put Oklahoma, Georgia, Notre Dame in that great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only putting Clemson, Ohio State, and Bama in that elite. And there's a separation there for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And as of right now, we can't sniff either one of those. Either one of those positions. So that's great and that's elite. And these teams, I would put the Florida Gators and Texas A&M, Oregon. I would put them in the very good section, right under that great section.
Yeah.
In my opinion, as far as tiers. Okay. Now, some people, if we were going to have bigger groups, I would put them in tier 2 under the elite, because when they do play well, they can be put in the great category. But I'm going to put them in the sense of the conversation in the very good section. But under them and just good, I would put a UNC, I would put an Iowa State, I would put a Texas. Like, they're good teams. But Miami is at the bottom of that tier. But we're in it. We're not a bad team, but we're good, you know. So that's why, for people who are asking, that's why I'm always talking about other institutions, why I'm bringing up and comparing us to other institutions. It's because I want you all to know there's a great distance from where we are right now and where we would like to be. Now, where we should be, I would say Miami should be a great to elite. Where we're going to go to, and where we're working hard as an organization, as a program to get to, is to go from the good section to the very good section, and then give us another 2 or 3 more years of very good. Then you could talk about getting into the great category. Because you start, the higher and higher you get, the level of consistency is super important. And being able to tie up half a decade of being a very great team, and then you just get that one transcendental QB that kicks you into the elite category. And that's where I would say when it comes to Miami as a program right now.
I think I threw some numbers by you a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the elite, that and I was going to produce a video going through all these numbers, but basically it just outlines that during the 7 years of the playoffs, that Alabama, Clemson, and Ohio State have owned the playoff, and they don't lose to anybody else. Like, they're just beating each other. The only reason the 3 of them lose any games is because they played one of the other 2. Those are the only games that they're losing.
Yep. And that's not easy. It's not an easy task to keep running into each other, man. It's not an easy task. Can you go ahead and put Kane City Cartel's comment up there for me, please, Mark?
Absolutely.
I think this is such a great comment. Alabama should be the standard for every team to push towards. Hashtag logic. What the heck? Logic over emotion. Yeah. I didn't know how that meshed together. I thought it was logical emotion. Logic over emotion. Thank you. I appreciate that. Because it's true. It is true. And you could tell based on how Georgia built their team, They're basically with like Alabama B, and then they get to the national championship, and Kirby realizes again, the master's still a little far ahead of me. And then Coach Saban changes his team again to be able to combat Clemson. Because, Alabama is so balanced. They could play the power game if you want to play that. They could play the Big 12, Pac-12 spread game if you want to play that. They could play the 3 clouds in the dust and blow you off the ball against Notre Dame if you want to do that too. Like, they are just such a balanced, well-oiled machine rolling. They are just rolling. And the only thing I could see stubbing that is a retirement from Nick Saban. That's it.
Looks like it.
That's it. And we'll see. Or if LSU gets their crap in order, maybe they can. Because Texas A&M is coming. Texas A&M is coming. And it is not, I don't know when they play each other, but make sure you're glued to your TV when they come into Bryant-Denny this upcoming season. That's going to be one heck of a game, man. I can't wait for that one.
I actually think they're playing in College Station this year.
Really? I thought they had to. Oh, well, it was a COVID year, so some of those away and homes still stay the same. Because we went to Duke twice back-to-back years.
They're playing on October 9th in the games at Texas A&M.
Woo! I don't know.
Texas A&M's loaded on defense. They had a top 5 defense last year, and just about everybody's coming back. They've got a tremendous linebacker in Buddy Johnson, who is gone, and Bobby Brown. But they're 20 out of their 22 too deep on defense are back. Loaded at running back, wide receivers, all back. They've got to find a quarterback. They got a 3-way battle, and they're all inexperienced, very inexperienced.
Yeah, that's true. So, Mark, before I get out of here, I wanted to go. I added something new to the channel. I don't know if you got a chance to swing by and see it, but I am doing now the H1H podcast. So it's an audio thing, and it's got pictures over what I'm talking about, and it's exciting. It's a little bit different. It's kind of sneaking into side as me, Holloway, the person, as to who I am. A little bit more on edge, I would say. I don't really swear because I'm still putting it on my YouTube, but it's very close to who I am as a person. And I talk about world events that's also happening, and I speak on the Canes. I'm always going to have a Canes section, but I talk about the NFL draft. I talk about NBA, all that type of stuff. It kind of opens up to a little bit more than the Miami Hurricanes. So if you're cleaning the house one day, you got an hour, you want to let it roll,
okay,
check out the H1H podcast. Dropping every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
That is very cool. So hopefully everybody caught that. Every Wednesday at 8, the H1H podcast drops. Head on over to the YouTube channel as well. Holsum One. All right, man. We always appreciate it. And everybody, heads up, once again, mark it down. After the Miami game, we'll be here with Holsum One talking up Miami football and letting you know what we saw. So
absolutely.
Be right here. All right, man.
Y'all.
It's always appreciated. You too.
Okay.
We'll be back in 20 minutes with Cam Underwood, so we'll see you then.
Oh, I got to hop on to that.